We need to understand that God often has a purpose where he wants to reveal himself to us in a greater way. He doesn't immediately meet an answer because he understands in that season of delay, there is going to be a greater revelation of the glory of God, of who he really is when he does bring answer. Today, we're going to talk about being that woman who runs to Jesus even after he seems to have disappointed us. And our text is going to be found in John chapter 11. I'm going to set it up with, I believe, verse 2. Actually, I'm going to start with 1. In the village of Bethany, there was a man named Lazarus and his sisters, Mary and Martha. Mary was the one, we talked about it earlier, who would anoint Jesus' feet with costly perfume and dry his feet with her long hair. One day, Lazarus became very sick to the point of death. So his sisters sent a message to Jesus. Lord, our brother, Lazarus, the one you love, is very sick. Please come. When he heard this, he said, this sickness will not end in death for Lazarus, but will bring glory and praise to God. This will reveal the greatness of the Son of God by what takes place. Now, even though Jesus loved Mary, Martha, and Lazarus with a divine love, he remained where he was for 2 more days. Finally, on the 3rd day, he said to his disciples, come, it's time to go to Bethany. Well, I would have actually thought it was better for him to come a lot earlier, but Jesus understood that there was something bigger in play here. So he waited until he had the sense that his father was saying, all right, it's time. His disciples kind of argue with him. They said, wait, do you remember they were trying to kill you in Judea? Verse 11, then Jesus added, Lazarus, our friend, has just fallen asleep. It's time that I go and awaken him. When they heard this, the disciples replied, Lord, if he has just fallen asleep, then he'll get better. Jesus was speaking about Lazarus' death, but the disciples presumed he was talking about natural sleep. Then Jesus made it plain to them, Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I'm glad I wasn't there, because now you have another opportunity to see who I am, so that you will learn to trust in me. Come. Let's go and see him. You're right there. We need to understand that God often has a purpose where he wants to reveal himself to us in a greater way. He doesn't immediately meet an answer because he understands in that season of delay, there is going to be a greater revelation of the glory of God, of who he really is when he does bring answer. Verse 17, now when they arrived at Bethany, which was only about 2 miles from Jerusalem, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Many friends of Mary and Martha had come from the region to console them over the loss of their brother. And when Martha heard that Jesus was approaching the village, she went out to meet him. But Mary stayed in the house. Okay, now I like to look at it this way. Martha runs out to meet Jesus. Mary is pouting in the house. I feel like she's pouting. Martha said to Jesus, my Lord, if only you had come sooner, my brother wouldn't have died. But I know that if you were to ask God for anything, he would do it for you. Jesus told her, your brother will rise and live. She replied, yes, I know he will rise with everyone else on resurrection day. Martha, Jesus said, you don't have to wait until then. I am the resurrection. I am life eternal. Anyone who clings to me in faith, even though he dies, will live forever. And the one who lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Then Martha replied, yes, Lord, I do. I've always believed that you are the anointed one, the Son of God, who has come into the world for us." Then she left and hurried off to her sister Mary and called her aside from all the mourners and whispered to her, "He's here, and he wants to speak with you." I love that. Martha had the faith to believe that even though the circumstances looked like it was the end of Lazarus' story, that Jesus had the right to rewrite that ending of that story. I don't know where you are right now. I don't know if you're a Mary hiding in the house, pouting, disappointed because you feel like God didn't come through in time for you. I don't know if you're a Martha that just heard a rumor that Jesus was in the town and you're running out to meet him. But I am going to say to you, he's asking you, do you believe that he is the resurrection? Do you believe that he is bigger than any problem? Do you believe that he can supersede your disappointment? Do you believe that he is the great I am and that what he says will happen? Because if you truly believe that he is who he says it is, then you'll move beyond any disappointment in your life and embrace him as the one who can quicken the dead and bring forth promises. As we know, the story ends with Lazarus being risen from the grave. I like to believe that it was Martha's faith that really ignited Jesus with the strength to say, "Do you believe? Because I want to know, Martha, that you clearly understand who I am before I get ready to do what you want me to do." Sometimes God is waiting for us to run to him and say, "I believe that you are who you say you are. Whether you do it the way I think you should do it or not, I believe that you are the resurrection and you are the life." Be that woman who runs to Jesus and calls him the risen Lord. Be that woman who runs to Jesus and calls him the resurrection and the life.